Nothing better than listening to some Wes. So I've got some of my babies out here and sort of wanted to talk a little bit about archtops. And it's not, I guess this video is not intended to be like a historical analysis in the fullest way that I think Keith at 5 Watt World, he did a great history of the L5, which to me is like probably perhaps the best thing I've seen on YouTube as somebody that, from a historical type perspective, just, walking through the granddaddy of them all, which is the L5. So, as you know, I love guitars, and my dream was always to own a Gibson ES 175, and I have one. But lo and behold, I've started acquired. I probably have about like 6 or 7 archtops, and there's just 4 of them out here. And I wanted to talk a little bit about it and really why I have them. So I think first and foremost for me is not just that they sound really good, but they just look very beautiful. I mean, they're just works of art from that perspective. But if you wanted to know about the evolution of the archtop, I think what's important is to sort of like look at who some of the people that were very instrumental, for lack of a better word, in coming up with the concept. So historically, the name Orville Gibson always comes to mind because that's the granddaddy of them all. And so he applied for a patent around 1896 that was approved, I think either 2 years or 4 years later, for archtop instruments. And, basically all an archtop instrument is, at least, if you kind of think about it, it's going to give you much more volume. The top is arched and the back is arched. So it has a lot of the same construction features as the violin. And, Orville Gibson was the one who at least put in the patent. I'm not saying he invented it. Probably got it from Europe, and from the violin Stradivarius tradition. But that's who the granddaddy of them all is. So he starts off with that. Then I believe around 1902, a group of financiers basically formed the Gibson Mandolin Company. So if you want to really understand the history of archtop guitars, you kind of have to look at mandolins. They were in fact, the Gibson Company was called Gibson Mandolin Guitar Manufacturing Company in 1902. So Orville Gibson kind of sells the name, and then they have this company, and the next one to come into play is Lloyd Law. And so around 1922, the L5, that's the granddaddy. And no, I don't own an L5. That's yeah, maybe someday, but you gotta fork up a lot of dough. So Lloyd Law does the L5 in 1922. Then you've got folks like D'Angelico in 1932 that start working in New York City, producing L5 type guitars at the highest premium level. Then he hires Jimmy D'Acquisto in 1952, and D'Acquisto starts building in the same vein from that perspective. So anyway, so that's just a very brief sort of like numerical or historical, rundown. Orville Gibson, 1896, patent. Lloyd Law, the 1922. John D'Angelico, 1932, Jimmy D'Acquisto, 1952. And then nowadays, you have a whole host of really great luthiers who got their start. So the modern day folks are people like Linda Manser, John Monteleone, Mark Campolone, Sadowski, Roger Sadowski, Ken Parker, and things of that nature. And I would like to say even Eastman guys that you probably don't even know of are building these things. So it's a very rich history, of craftsmanship, of building. And it was all started really to get much more amplification and to get the thing to be louder. And so all of this occurred before they started putting pickups in there. And obviously, you've got L5s, having pickups in it at some point in time and things of that nature. So, yeah, it's a beautiful, rich history. And in my opinion, if money were not enough, were not hurdle or barrier, I would buy a lot more archtops. They're beautiful to look at. They're very practical. Yes, we know about the feedback issues and stuff, but hey, not going to play for a million people. I love the intimacy of music and small settings from that perspective and stuff. So yeah, it's an instrument that's rich in tradition, rich in everything, you know. So it helps you make some beautiful music. So again, archtops are beautiful things, and some of these things that I have out here, I've got Gibson ES 175D. That's the granddaddy of them all. I've got this. I can kind of say this is my poor man's L5 in a way. It is an arch guitar. It really sounds great. It's an Eastman AR 805. I've got here the Heritage H575. That probably should be closer to the Gibson. And this one right here is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful 1979 Guild X500. So all of these things owe their legacy to Lloyd Law and Orville Gibson in some form or fashion. And yeah, and I thank them, and anybody who's playing any of these types of instruments should thank them as well. All right then, thank you for watching, and practice, practice, practice. These are not just for looks. They are tools to be played. All right then, thank you so much. Bye now.